think we can all agree that there's never been, at least not in my memory, a better market for talented executives than the one we're seeing today. So when we talk about being prepared, let's distill that even further, particularly leaving collateral aside for a moment, but let's pretend you get a phone call or an email or a LinkedIn mail from a recruiter. How do you display readiness? What are the earmarks of being ready for that kind of a conversation?
Well, I do believe that those conversations are different depending on who's pinging you. That recruiter conversation is different than a colleague that reaches out to you from 10 years ago out of the blue. And understanding those differences, I think, is a key component to being prepared. So, I mean, I don't mean to vent on my prior career, but I'm going to take a little therapeutic break here for a second. Great. And I know that as a headhunter, if a client came to me and asked me to find, A through Z, and I found that person, and I happened to find the perfect person because, I'm a little on the obsessive compulsive side. And if I were to deliver that person, I would know full well, or at least I learned after I got my feet wet in recruiting, they don't hire the first person, even if that first person is perfect most of the time. So what do you have to do? You have to dig up some other people to benchmark that person. So magic number is 3 that you present to a client most of the time, in case they've gone back to the drawing board several times. And what people don't realize is sometimes that call from the headhunter could easily be just either A, them wanting to get your resume to benchmark you against somebody else, or B, just trying to see if maybe they could get some job orders from you at your current company, or just trying to find out information. But it's okay, because either way, something good happened. They called you. Reaching out to a recruiter these days it just doesn't work. Recruiters operate completely on search now. They don't need to find, the information is too easy to find. They have LinkedIn Recruiter that turns LinkedIn into their own personal database. So they can work simply on, if I don't need you until I call you. So when they do call you, you now have a hook. Now they've come to you, and that's the power of the pull, pushing a string versus pulling a string. If you know how to have those conversations, you can actually have a branding conversation, which will implant into that recruiter's mind as to what they should use you for to be the number 1 candidate, even if you weren't the number 1 candidate on this. And that's a completely different phone call. That's a completely different conversation, because you have to know their agenda. Talking about your experience is not going to do that. And most people are like, I don't even know what to say then. I'm not talking about my experience. I'm not doing a dissertation of everything I've done. How do you do that? And that's when we get people prepared with getting that value into their conversation. But that's going to be a different avenue if somebody calls you that, say, you used to work with on a project. There's already a branding component that's happened now there. And now the idea of being prepared for the conversation is about taking them from the past you to the future you. Terrific. And so this is all not second nature to people, because I'm going to ask you this question, Tony, and you'll know the answer to this one. What do you think the most accomplished people in the world want to talk about?
Themselves.
Exactly, their accomplishments. And value is not the accomplishments, but it's their conception most of the time of what the value is. And so that is probably that key component of shifting that perspective to not the value as you see it, but the value as they see it, is the biggest learning point, I think, in the process when we're taking executives to market.